is Rob Stone from Fox Sports.
This is Jochen Graf.
Hi, I'm Neil Collins.
You are listening to the Unused Substitutes.
The Unused Substitutes.
And you're listening to the Unused Substitutes.
Get off the bench!
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood, I got a problem that is complicated. Going through text and I just can't ignore the signs. They're there now and it's so loud it hurts. Hear me growl, hear me howl when the full moon is out.
Long throw, ball's gonna bounce down, it's 3 in the box. Bicycle kick! Goal! Rowdies! What a play! What a shot! And it's 1-0 Rowdies!
Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Unused Substitutes live on Radio St. Pete, part of the Beautiful Game Network, and presented by Roughneck Scarves. My name is Matt, and on the other end of this video conference for me tonight is a guy who's been practicing social distancing for most of his life. Steven, how you doing?
I feel very far away now.
I've been waiting to use it. I was doing something earlier today, and I thought, wait a second. This is how I have to describe it. This is how I have to intro Steven tonight. Steven, it's been an interesting week since the last time we got together to do this. The whole world has apparently ended.
Well, I mean, sort of, kind of, yes and no. Especially in the fact that, well, a few hours ago, the league officially announced that they're pushing games out officially until through Sunday, May 10th. So, yeah, now we're up to 9 games affected on our schedule as it was at the beginning of the year.
I'm just looking at this tweet. It's from a week ago, last Wednesday, and I know because I brought this up on air last week. The NBA game that kind of kicked all this off in the U.S. at least, if you want to say, where Utah and was it, I think Oklahoma City were about to play, and then they called it off right at almost exactly a week ago. 8:10 p.m. was when the tweet came out, and yeah, it's nuts. And you know, there's stuff going on all over the place. We're going to focus on the effects in USL and you know, for the Rowdies. Initially called off until, what was it, like April 10th, I think, was it at the first postponement date? And then they revised it today to like May 15th or April 15th. May 15th. You just read May 10th. I'm screwing everything up here. There was a first date that was like in April, right?
Oh, yeah. No. The first date was through April 18th, which was important because the Rowdies had a game on April 17th against Louisville at Louisville. So apparently that game was supposedly going to be affected originally because the season wasn't supposed to kick off until the day after, technically speaking. And now, obviously, that shifts to May 10th.
All right, so let's break this down. First off, can I just say, I've had quite a few. This is definitely the weirdest birthday I've ever had.
Yes, I can imagine. That would make a lot of sense.
I saw lots of people today. I didn't get within like 5 to 10 feet of any of them. We decided to go out and just go for a drive, kind of along the beach and parks in Manatee, Sarasota. Stopped and ordered lunch from a sub place, and they had it sitting on the counter when we got there to pick up, and waved and got our drinks and left, and ended up getting some ice cream at a Ben & Jerry's shop in downtown Sarasota, where they were only letting in like groups at a time and then blocking it off, so there was no indoor seating. There was just like, okay, one group's through line, next group in. Okay, so it was kind of cool. It's kind of weird. All right, so now that I've diverged it completely from what we were talking about, let's get back to it. So let's go over what games are first of all affected.
All right, so there are, obviously 9 games. So obviously Miami twice away, both times. So obviously that's going to be a pain in the butt trying to reschedule. We have the away game at Louisville, as we just mentioned a second ago, away at St. Louis, and away at Indy. So keep in mind, these are 4 high-profile away games. None of them are at 2 teams. So as trying to rebalance the scheduling, that's going to make it a lot harder, like especially in the case of like Indy, who doesn't really control in any respect their own facility. And we're going to kind of get into this too. That's going to be a hard game for them to reschedule. Thankfully, of course, the Rowdies have all the flexibility in the world. Our home games that we're going to be rescheduling: North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Swope Park, because I'm still calling them, actually I should call them Sweat Park, but it's coronavirus season, and the home game against Charlotte. Now, that if we don't end up scheduling a game the Wednesday after the ban is lifted, assuming that date doesn't change, because of course, with everything as fluid as it is, it could be pushed farther past May. But you could hypothetically see a Wednesday night game scheduled on the 13th of May, hypothetically. If they do not, that means that our home opener revised would be May 16th against Loudoun United.
So I was thinking about this. I haven't looked at the calendar. I haven't done the dates or done the math. I see you from the show notes. And the super cute doggo calendar in your hand that you've done some of this. Assuming that the May 15th or May 10th date holds, and the league resumes after that. Everybody's played a game except for, what was it, Hartford, Birmingham, and Pittsburgh. Would it be easier? Would it be feasible? What if you just did, instead of a home and away, and then in some cases 2 homes and away, like us with Miami and with New York? What if everybody just played everybody once? You don't get you don't get the balance of like a home and return leg. Would that be a scheduling possibility, do you think?
So at the moment, from what I've been reading on Twitter, what I've been reading through different links on Reddit, that is like everything is literally on the table right now. So a couple of things to consider. Obviously, you've got things like the Open Cup, which now we're postponed through all 3 first rounds of the Open Cup as originally scheduled. So, again, because the USL won't be participating in anything before May 10th. So, regardless of what the Open Cup does, it's not going to matter. Everything's on the table. I've seen rumors of truncated schedules like what you're suggesting. There is some real discussion about whether or not clubs can even exist and survive throughout this period of time.
Right.
Which really throws everything into hell, because if you've got teams that drop out or can't exist, then, I don't know, because essentially what we're looking at is you have clubs that don't own their own facilities, which are probably required to make rent payments as a part of an agreement, not necessarily based on games played, but based on a contract in general.
Right.
But if they're not bringing revenue in until May at the earliest, at least something substantial, there was some rumor going about of whether teams can even exist to get to May.
I know there was some legislation passed today through Congress and supposedly heading to the president's desk to be signed, including something with small business loans for businesses with under 500 employees. And I would assume pretty much every USL team would qualify for that. Whether it's enough to keep them afloat or to get them to May 10th, not sure. Maybe the league has a bunch of franchise money sitting around, all these franchise fees that clubs have paid that could possibly be distributed in like a short-term loan or something for that to keep some of these guys going. But hopefully they've this has got to be, there's clubs out there that can probably weather this okay, depending on ownership, and I would assume ours is one of them with the Rays ownership. But there's some out there that are probably not. They're I don't want to say paycheck to paycheck, but they are match day to match day, depending on the revenue, the ticket sales, the merch, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, I would assume someone in the league has some kind of plan or is putting together some kind of plan for this. We'll have to wait and see. We did not name an executive producer for this week's show. However, we did get a special request from last week's, I think it was last week's, I don't know, it's so far in the distance. Kevin, who asked us to shout out his girlfriend, Monica, listening tonight. Hi, Monica. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate that.
Hi, Monica.
Kevin, too, I guess, but we'll take whatever we can get at this point. I don't even know where to, what do you have any ideas or things you thought would be maybe a good path to go or something to look at?
Honestly, because everything is so in the air, it's really hard to judge. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if you look at it through one lens of every team exists, Open Cup's going to happen with all the same number of rounds and teams, and we're just going to, play a full schedule. You're starting to look at the fact that there are 21 open days for scheduling games between midweek that are open and weekends that are open. You have 21. That point, you're looking at 9 games we have to reschedule within those 21 open dates of availability, plus potentially 2 Open Cups. That's going to be really hard to do. Now, granted, it sounds like a lot of, 11 potentially rescheduled dates mixed with 21 open days. Sounds easy. Can assure you it isn't, pretty much, because you've got to try and figure out whose dates are available for the teams that don't own their facilities first.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can get to teams like ours. At this point, it's really, really hard to speculate one way or another. I, at this point, personally think that a truncated season might be a more viable option.
Right.
Now, how does that interplay when it comes to player contracts? How are player contracts going to be affected if you play a shortened season? I mean, it's funny because of all the times that the USL is going through a players association, vote, essentially. Now we have something else for them to consider is what happens in the event of a pandemic canceling a season type of deal. So it kind of works out for them in some ways, but that deal's not in place yet, obviously. So the players themselves aren't unionized. So that's one thing that I haven't heard anything about yet is from a player perspective. And I'd love to, I meant to reach out to see if I could ask around, and I really haven't gotten any answers yet because I don't know how that would work. I honestly have not a clue how that would work.
Yeah, that's, I saw some suggestions out there about dropping the pro teams from Open Cup and leaving it as all amateur and like the semi-pro teams. You got to get through this first and see how many of them are still around, because you talk about the possibility of professional teams failing. Unless you're just going to have a giant Sunday League style tournament, then
Now, in all
could be
fairness,
interesting.
For Open Cup, that's actually what I would expect is going to happen to Open Cup. I would bet that all the professional teams will drop out of it, and they'll probably end up convincing CONCACAF to take away the Champions League berth for the Open Cup this year. And it'll probably just be an all amateur team competition just to keep the streak going. That's what I honestly kind of expect to happen with that. And I would bet that the NCAA will probably find a way to work with the federation to make that actually a possibility and a potential solution. I honestly expect that at this point.
Talking about that kind of setup, I mean, that starts to sound like I mean, it's going to be a little bit larger competition, but it sounds very close to the Steinbrecher Cup, which is the USASA Cup between NPSL champion, the USL 2 champion, the National Amateur Cup champion, and then whoever the previous Steinbrecher Cup was champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're kind of running into a lot of similar territory, but then again, those teams may like having at least a couple extra games. I was going to say we got to have something else to talk about besides clubs playing Connect Four or Tic Tac Toe, but there's not a lot else out. I mean, the only thing I was gonna to bring up, like, that we know is going on is one of our favorite Twitter accounts. I don't know if you saw this. I know we have a couple friends partaking in it. The USL memes, eUSL, like, esports competition is kicking off, I believe, this weekend. First off, if you don't follow USL memes, you should. They're a fantastic account with some funny stuff, especially if you like laughing at your own team every now and then. If you're a Rowdies fan, there's some out there, because this guy, I don't know who he is. I have his address. I do have his home address. I won't divulge it, but they're in Louisville, so like to take some shots every now and then. But they've put together, and it's going to be, I think, streaming on Twitch and stuff like that on weekends. Just a FIFA competition between fans of each team. I know there's a couple Rowdies fans out there. Green Man from the Casuals, Carlos from the Mob. And I think there's maybe one or two others who are taking part as well.
I believe Mike Pendleton is.
Pendleton do it too?
Maybe.
Makes sense.
Maybe.
I saw one account listed on there that was like, Dave from Tampa. I don't think it's that Dave, but it's it's a Dave from Tampa.
Could be.
And we'll see. But if you don't follow them, give USL memes a follow. They've got the schedule, the participants, all that kind of stuff posted. It's going on between Xbox and against PS4, neither of which I own. So despite having probably a large amount of time at home in the near future, maybe we can do commentary or something sometime. But I'm not available to play.
Yeah, that's my problem, is that I don't have either of those devices, so I can't participate. Oh well.
I still have a 360. It's not even hooked up anymore. Now that I have my new TV, I need to do that, but we'll see. So what's left? What else? I know some of you guys are tuning in, listening, following along on Twitter, probably sending us some notes. I haven't had a chance to check it in a minute or two. Like, what are you doing with your isolation, your self-quarantine? I've been at home the last couple days with my wife and daughter. We did venture out today, avoid looking at other people. Hopefully not to catch the plague via eye contact. I don't know if it works that way, but we're just going to be sure. But we're just hanging out, doing stuff around the house, playing some board games, celebrating my birthday tonight, which is, like I said, it's a really weird way of doing it. With I did a Facebook Live earlier and just drank a beer with some friends that way. Poor Shamrock had to close down.
No, what I was going to say is we could very easily follow along this eUSL tournament and basically make that the show for next week.
That could be it. I like that idea.
I'm gearing to go. I'm ready to do this. We're going to become an e-podcast, an esports podcast.
There we go. The official podcast of USL memes, eUSL, FIFA soccer, USL competition, USL esports something.
Yeah.
.com.
See, there it is.
I like that.
There it is. I'm going to now research everything about this tournament that I can't play in myself, and I'm going to find out how we can start reporting on it.
We'll have to watch
Because
the
why not?
games, take some notes, break down some tactics. Maybe we can get some of the participants on the show to discuss their upcoming or their most recent match.
I'm just saying, we've got 2 months worth of content that we need to fill, and I am down for this, baby. I am ready to go.
I thought we could take this time. We could go back to 2012 to the penalty shootout that wins the NASL Soccer Bowl, and we could break down each show. Could be just about one of the attempts. We can go over like the players' stats that season on penalty kicks leading up to it, the save stats. We could do a little
Yeah, good
film.
luck finding some of that
No.
information.
We can make it up and nobody will know, Stephen. They're just listening to us because they have nothing else to do.
Right? There you go.
We're bringing some normality, such as it is as much as you can associate us with normality, to their lives. And honestly, to our own.
In the age of coronavirus, the things we have to do.
I mean, I won't lie. Like, half of the reason I'm trying this program out tonight is because I might be using this with my students in a week and a half, and I want to get used to it and see. All right, so we've been locked up, locked down, whatever you want to call it, since I guess pretty much Friday is when it all started going downhill. What's the best thing you've done so far?
What, in this last week?
In your lockdown, yeah. I'm looking for brighter sides here.
Oh, geez. Why are you asking the pessimist, the eternal pessimist, on the brighter side of the corona lockdown?
Look at it this way. You know, all those articles we read about how Americans never get enough sleep. That's going to be all over with in a month. Like, we are going to get so much sleep by the time we get, like, you know, we're still in like the first week of like figuring this out, adapting to it. You know, what are we in like a week or two? We're all going to bed at like 8 o'clock. We're going to be on like the sundown to sunup schedule, like the farmers of old. And by the time this is over, I mean, I'm seeing pictures of. I think someone posted of Venice that, you know, for the first time in years, like the water's clear, the fish are back, the duck are coming back. Someone posted the San Francisco air quality today, and this isn't just a good day. This is like the best day we've seen in decades. We're going to come out of this into an interesting, different place, like well-rested, fresh air.
There are,
and it'll all be gone in like a month after that. Like, we'll totally be
course.
back, like getting 3 hours of sleep and you know, throwing beers in the rivers again. But whatever.
See, I was going to say the most exciting things I did was I found toilet paper and I watched a car accident. But, you know, I mean,
we did get we did obtain toilet paper like 2 days ago, which, like, I've been joking about the whole, you know, like most people had the whole toilet paper hoarding thing, and then we've been like, you know, we're down to like 6 rolls in a house of 3. Maybe we should go. We're still on the same.
More importantly, it's a house with women, because if it was like me, I live alone. So a roll of toilet paper lasts me a month.
Yeah. But meanwhile, we're still on the same roll of toilet paper I was on like last Wednesday. This is not a dire issue.
Yeah, we're 28 minutes into a show, and there's not a lot to talk about.
Any TV or movie recommendations? You've been binge watching anything?
Well, yeah.
Other than the end of the world?
So it's what, I think 5 or 6 episodes in, and I think there's another 2 or 3 left. If you haven't watched Picard, that is an excellent Star Trek series, and the fact that it connects with everything Star Trek out there, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the old Star Trek or even of the new, I think it appeals to both, in my personal opinion.
How many episodes are left?
I think there's 2 or 3 left of the current season, because
So
they only do one, you know, each week.
Right.
So
I'll wait till they're all out, get the 1 week free subscription, and just binge it all in a week.
Ooh. The other one that's worth watching, that's it's on Amazon Prime. If you didn't see it when it dropped in December, this is a perfect time to catch up, and that's The Expanse. The Expanse is a phenomenal TV show for more or less true hardcore sci-fi fans. That would be another one I recommend highly. That has another season. Season 5 comes out the end of this year, so get on it.
So I started watching shortly before everything went down the drain, Fargo on Hulu, like the FX series, which I'd never seen before. Love the movie, and there are I finished the 4th season, supposed to be coming out April 20th, but then I heard production's been stopped on it. I don't know. I gotta check and see what's going on with it. But like it's like it's an anthology where like each season, like similar settings but different characters, different actors. You do have, like, the 2nd season has some younger versions of actors from the 1st season. There's a character from the first season that shows up in the third season and plays a pretty important role. You get some voiceovers from it, but it's a pretty cool series. And if you like the movie, like it's very like the Coen brothers aren't involved, but it's very much in their spirit and style. It took me like a week or two to get through the first season of like 10 episodes, and then we were in lockdown, and I got through season 2 in one day and season 3 the next day. Like I was like, oh man, I got to like mid-April, I'm good. It's I finished it like 2 days ago. And I'm ready for the next one. So, there is a scene in in season 2. Scene in season 1 that establishes that the show takes place in the same universe as the movie, which was fun to see.
Nice.
I assume you've seen the movie.
No.
Oh.
TV show's excellent though.
TV show is fantastic. So I'll tell you about the connecting scene after. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. We watched Knives Out again the other night.
Oh, good movie.
Still the best. I couldn't tell what I enjoyed more about it the second time around. That I watched it on my new 4K TV, so the video quality was even better than it was in the theater, or that the projection didn't break down halfway through like it did when I saw it in the theater. And we ended up there for like an extra 45 minutes waiting for them. Like we were literally like, okay, this is it. We're walking out, and it kicked back on. When we left, like there weren't even any staff in the theater. There was like the custodians, and that was it. They just kind of trusted us to see ourselves out and go. I did so we went and saw it the first time. My wife and I went to go see it, and this time we let my daughter watch it. The first thing she says, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, first thing she says, Daniel Craig's first line, she goes, "That's a horrible accent." I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of the point.
It's so great.
Oh.
So we may or may not be running out of time here. Looking at the clock and looking at what program we're using for recording tonight.
Hopefully it gives me like a warning or something. I'm assuming it'll do that.
Maybe. Of course, with everything else, with our luck, it'll just cut out. But I will point out one sports-related news piece that is all over the world that I am absolutely positively more than excited about right now. And that is TB12 to TB. Tom Brady is a Buccaneer. It is amazing. It is awesome. It is great, and I love it.
Look, I've been through the 2 times that we hired Bill Parcells and then he never coached a team. I'm waiting. So there's a joke, like an in-joke with Liverpool fans. Is whenever they sign a player, like the first pictures are always like the player leaning against a goal at Melwood at the training facility. I'm not believing that Brady is signed until I see him leaning against an upright at Raymond James Stadium or at $1. I'll take either. It could be a training field, whatever. And
so
till he's there, hopefully sporting a New Jersey, then I don't believe it. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Here's the thing about that, and that is because of coronavirus, it's making it more difficult to get people in to complete their physicals, and traveling in general is harder to a certain degree. So from what I understand, that's the holdup right now, is trying to get that all sorted. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, like literally the world announced it. I mean, shoot, even the NFL's social media people were announcing it.
Yeah, that's when you know it's
like
a done deal.
It's a done deal.
Like the NFL
basically.
Network announced it.
Yeah, like you pretty much just have to sign the paperwork, which because of coronavirus might take some time. That might be the only thing I could think of. Who knows? Maybe the Glazers will sell them the franchise after it's all done, and that'll be a part of the deal.
Well, and it's interesting is I saw someone mentioning that because it kind of allegedly came down to Tampa Bay or San Diego, and then maybe it turns out San Diego didn't ever made like an actual offer because he wants X amount of money a year, but also he wanted apparently whatever team he signs with to go sign Antonio Brown also. So I'm a little sketchy on that one. But
if
also,
that turns out, I'll put it this way: there's credence to that thought.
It would not surprise me, but I don't like the move.
The Bucks haven't announced him yet, and if the Bucks aren't really interested in Antonio Brown, which they shouldn't be, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, that would have been made. He would have made that known before he, like when he met with the team. I don't think he's going to like sign the deal and go, okay, now I want you to do this. But someone said, well, first they were speculating he had to be going to San Diego because he's just opened like a production studio in California, and he's from California originally, and then when it turned out to be apparently that he's coming to Tampa Bay, they said, well, there must be some kind of business interest involved. And I don't know if you saw the tweet, but someone posted that him, Bill Gates, Vinnick, and I get what one of the Glazers or the GM were spotted at Burns having dinner. Like, it was Jeter, because Derek Jeter lives in Tampa. That could be maybe there is some kind of business ties he's going to get involved with locally too, which would be a good thing.
Would make a lot of sense.
Because this is, you figure this is at least a 2-year deal. He said he wanted to play till he's 45. He's going to be 43 this year coming up, or he's 43 right now. So that would, you get a year or two out of him, but then maybe some kind of connection afterwards. Maybe he buys into what Gates and Vinnick are doing in like reshaping Tampa to begin with. Could be a possibility. Maybe he just wanted a really good steak. I won't discount that either.
I don't know. I don't see how you don't have a connection there of the coincidence of that whole thing.
You know what else I think could happen? So the NFL players just passed by like a 60-vote margin the new CBA, which says you don't get suspended for weed offenses. You just get fined. Maybe this gets Gronk out of retirement, and he's going to be a 2-sport athlete with him in the WWE, because they just announced like he's hosting WrestleMania now, which is going to be spread over 2 nights from Orlando in an empty arena. I just want to see Stone Cold give Gronk a stunner. I think that'd be kind of fun. But I'm telling you, man, if Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders can do the 2-sport thing, you could have an NFL tight end / WWE performer, especially in Tampa, like kind of like the mecca of pro wrestling to begin with. It'd be interesting. And I'm totally here for it.
Yeah, I got to make a hard pass on the wrestling. Sorry about that.
Like, I'm not particularly involved in watching it now, but it's one of those, like, I might pay some more attention, because he seems like the right personality to do both of those. All right. Anything else we can think of?
I got nothing. Hopefully we've got some more concrete news on what's going on with the Rowdies and players and everything else, because I'd love to get you guys updated on what's going on in their lives, not just in general, but
Well, if you're following them on Twitter, you know what they're watching. Zach Steinberger, big Office fan.
And Zach apparently can't follow instructions very well, so makes sense that he's a big fan of The Office.
I had the idea, and maybe I'll sit down and do it, because we have all kinds of time to do all kinds of things nowadays. Because he put out there, someone tweeted it. I'm assuming it was Jake from our podcast account, that he was giving off some good Andy Bernard energy. So he was taking recommendations on who's going to be the Jim Halpert, and I was like, well, I think Forrest Lasso seems like the obvious choice, but I kind of want to see Neil Collins in that role too. But now I want to go through and recast The Office with Rowdy's players. Yeah,
you might as well. We should. Yeah, that should be done.
It gets weird when you're talking about like who's Pam and who's some of the other girls in the show, but I think we could do this.
Just make it easy on yourself and just give it like an honorary Heather Donnelly or something like that, just because.
True.
See, there you go. Problem solved.
I could maybe do that.
No, there you go. With no offense at all to anybody anywhere, you can make Ryan suit all Pam.
I mean, Pam's got some talent, though.
Hence why I'm saying what I'm saying. It's not exactly a negative thing. It just is.
No, Sudol's more. Gosh, I can't. What was the girl from accounting's name?
Oh God, I don't know.
The one married to the state senator.
I don't know.
That's Ryan right there. No, wait. Who would be more offended? Ryan as Pam Beasley or anyone as Kevin? Who's the chili dropper?
What are we talking about now?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
But we can sort some of these. You figure who's Roy? Who gets the boot? Sent to like a minor role. See, there's all kinds of stuff we could play with. All right. I think that the fact that we've reached this point is a sign that we should go ahead and wrap it up before it gets weirder.
Yeah.
We'll
Next week is already going to be an eUSL podcast, so
this is true. At least we have content for next week.
Amen.
Some content. All right. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Sneeze into elbows, preferably your own. Gets weird if you do it to other people, even with consent. Stay home if you're sick. Stay home if you just don't like people. I mean, I'm particularly not a giant fan of a lot of people, so I don't mind staying home. All right, let's wrap this up. We love yous. Hell, everybody.
Everybody.
Especially the doctors and nurses, or any the mailmen, the small business. Yeah, everybody. People stuck at home with their kids. The kids stuck at home with their parents. All of you guys.
Everybody, because everybody's dealing with this pretty much equally. So
yeah,
everybody.
It's weird. It's going to go on for who knows how long. Like, whatever. But there is a silver lining. The Rowdies are still undefeated.
This is true.
And
the Rowdies have not given up a goal in 2020.
True. And this was my prediction. We would go undefeated and not concede a goal. Here we are, a couple weeks into what should be the season, and we have completely met that.
Yes! Matt has called the 2020 season correctly. Oh my God.
Neil Collins, Coach of the Year. Leo Fernandez, well, not Golden Boots. The guy out in Phoenix had a hat trick, I think, on the first day because they played Portland Timbers 2, and somehow it's a sign that they're going to win the league. We'll say Leo MVP.
There you go.
We'll go with that. Evan Lauro, Keeper of the Year, 0.00 GAA. Sure, others do as well, but we're biased. We'll go with it. We're already giving our end of season awards here. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Hopefully with something more like relevant.
Right.
And we'll go from there. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening later. Thank you to Wolfface, to Radio St. Pete, and to Shamrock. Poor Shamrock had to shut down yesterday. Had to cancel their giant St. Patrick's Day block party. They were selling like cases of beer for $30 yesterday, and I meant to try and get down there and get one, and I didn't get a chance. So this birthday is going to be more sober than I had planned. Hopefully we'll be back in there very soon. It's going to be at least a month, though. Thank you to everybody for listening, for sharing, for subscribing, for rating and reviewing. Except don't rate and review this episode. Maybe not even share it, but keep subscribing. That's a good plan. If you want to support the show on an ongoing basis, go to Patreon. Patreon.com/unusedsubspod, helping us keep this thing afloat during this. I don't know. We're not like meeting payroll because none of us get paid for this, but we do have to do some business stuff related to the show in the near future, and you guys are going to help with that with your donation. So we appreciate it.
Thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get your custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And if you're tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from places like Nike and Adidas, you're looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday League squad, adult, or even a pro team, something maybe to go along with your Roughneck scarf even, Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you, everybody. To quote something someone left on my timeline on Facebook in one of their happy birthday wishes, a note from a 7-year-old boy in Ireland. To coronavirus, you destroyed my birthday. You are the F word.
Aww.
Shout out to that kid, though. I don't know if today was his birthday, but whenever it was, he's been locked down for his birthday. So coronavirus, you are the F word. And you'll still be around next week when we're talking about you again, I guess. All right, thank you guys. We'll be back next week with all the latest eUSL results, previews, reviews, recaps, whatever we can get. Talk to you guys later.
You are following your instructions correctly. Your life's motto right now should be to home. I'm not freaking leaving. Just saying. Go Rowdies, boys.
Stay the F home. Bye.
The Radicals here, the Radicals there, they kick the wall.